day to all the viewers. In this video, we are going to do an experiment about rectilinear motion. But before that, let us first define rectilinear motion. So, rectilinear motion can be described as the motion of a particle or object along a straight line. And this happens when a moving object travels a straight path while the direction of its velocity remains constant. So back to our experiment, the main objective of our experiment is to determine the relationship between the height and the velocity. And at the end of the experiment, we will answer the question, what is the velocity of the marble at a height of 40 and 50 centimeters? So the answer in this question will be based on our observation of the data that we gathered in this experiment. But before doing the experiment, we need first to prepare the following. After having all the materials, these are the instructions or procedures that we need to follow. So in every given height, we are going to measure the time it takes for the marble to travel from the starting point to the end for 3 times or 3 trials. Then, we will compute the velocity of each trial using the formula of velocity, displacement divided by the time. So, using the computed velocity from the 3 trials in every given height, we can now compute for the average velocity. Now that we already have the materials that we need for the experiment and we already know the procedures on how to do the experiment, we can now start. So let's start at 10 centimeters and then 20 centimeters and then 30 centimeters for each 3 trials. So after the experiment, we now have the data that we will use to answer the question, what is the velocity of the marble at 40 centimeters height and 50 centimeters height? And also, we can now explain the relationship between the height and velocity. So as you can see on the screen, the table shows all the data that we obtained in the experiment, including the calculated velocity of each trials and the average velocity of each height. In the first table, it shows that at the height of 10 centimeters, the average velocity of the marble is 0.56 meter per second, while at 20 centimeters, the average velocity of the marble is 0.74 meter per second. And on the other hand, at the height of 30 centimeters, the average velocity is 0.91 meter per second. So using this data as our reference, we can now observe that the increase of the height causes an increase in the velocity of an object. So to further understand the concept, let us refer to this image. As you can see in the graph, while the height increases 10 cm, the value of the velocity also increases. For example, in the 10 centimeters, we have average velocity of 0.56 meter per second. However, when the height increases 10 centimeters, which became 20 centimeters, the velocity increases to 0.74 meters per second, leading to a difference of 0.18 meter per second. On the other hand, in 30 centimeters, the average velocity is 0.91 meter per second. Subtracted to the average velocity of 20 centimeters, we will get 17 meter per second. Now that we understand the concept, we can now answer the question, what is the average velocity of the marble at 40 and 50 centimeters height? So, using the difference between the average velocity at 20 centimeters and 10 centimeters, which is 0.18 centimeters, and the difference between the average velocity of 30 centimeters and 20 centimeters, we will be able to compute for the average velocity at the height of 40 and 50 centimeters. If we will round off 0.18 meter per second and 0.17 meter per second, we will get the constant 0.20 meter per second. Now, we can use this constant value to determine the velocity of the marble at a height of 40 and 50 centimeters by means of adding the constant 0.20 meter per second to the average velocity of the closest given height. In conclusion, we can say that the height is directly proportional to velocity. This is because the increase of the height causes an increase to the velocity of the object. Furthermore, in the experiment, we can say that as the height increases 10 centimeters, the average velocity also increases to 0.20 meter per second.